Sakina, a good morning to you. Welcome to the agenda. A very big speech that we heard there from the president, essentially talking about the possibilities of green hydrogen for South Africa. Some of the standout points coming from the president this morning for you.
Well, you know, Naledi, and of course, as you say, this is basically emergent, but it's a very important subsection of this particular sector. And, you know, the standout, of course, from what the president was saying is, of course, highlighting all that will be done in terms of the infrastructure layout that needs to be had, and also the money, of course, that will be needed for this is money that can be found and has already struck several deals with people who will be investing. We spoke earlier on to Dr. Ramaphosa, who explained exactly how that will work and the reason why we are looking for foreign direct investment at this point as a country, given that we have all the ingredients to make this thing work, is that the cost curve at the moment for what we will be producing would be too high for South Africans to afford. So we can get in the foreign investment, make sure that everything is done, and once the cost curve gets to a point where the affordability makes sense for us as South Africans, that's where we start to see wholesale benefit for the country from this green hydrogen. But of course, so many people here this morning, and what we'll do tomorrow perhaps is we'll show you there's a model here that was developed by SASL along with the University of the Western Cape that shows you exactly how this technology works and how they actually do split the hydrogen and the oxygen. There's a lovely little model just to my right. We'll show you that tomorrow, I promise. But for now, just speaking to some of the delegates who are here, the people who will be making sure that all of this becomes a reality, making sure that the country actually develops and benefits from this green hydrogen economy. And with me right now is Kashifa Beerkus, and she is the Chief Executive Officer of Freeport Saldanha. And I was very excited seeing Kashifa this morning because I was in this part of the world for my birthday not so long ago. Kashifa, thanks so much, and lovely to see you and to speak to you here at the summit.
Thank you so much, Sakina. Good morning.
Freeport Saldanha, talk to us about first and foremost what it is that you do.
Okay, so Freeport Saldanha is one of the special economic zones in the national SEZ program. So some people might know of the Kucha Development Zone, the Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone, even the East London Industrial Development Zone. So Saldanha is one of the new kids on the block. So our role is to catalyze investment in industry. And so we're very excited for the summit and this opportunity in green hydrogen.
So let's talk about those opportunities as per the president's address as well. Where exactly is the low-hanging fruit at this point?
Yeah. So the low-hanging fruit is that you have a special economic zone in the IDZ that is operational. It's open for business. We have land that's available. We're looking for project developers for green hydrogen production. And I can give a very pragmatic an example. So SASL and ArcelorMittal South Africa have signed a joint development agreement just in October to work on feasibility studies to bring green hydrogen to the mothballed steel mill in Saldanha. So you have a special economic zone with an industrial estate with the SEZ incentives. You have a nearby off-taker, end use, the steel mill. And now you have a petrochemical giant like SASL who's looking to make that investment. So we are the place where the investment will happen. Also, what Saldanha has is the port of Saldanha. So it is an operational port. It is a bulk carrier port. We export iron ore and manganese. So that's also another market to tap into, is the exporting of the molecules and also the refueling of those ships.
So it all seems to be stacked up in your favor at Saldanha at this point. But of course, when you talk to people, they want to know, how does this benefit me? How does this benefit the broader community around Saldanha, you know, the nearby towns? And how do they benefit? The guys from Langebaan, from Paternoster, all around you, how do they stand to benefit from this?
It's a very good question. So you've been to Saldanha. I think you've seen the steel mill, the engineering know-how is there, right? So we're talking about more sustainable jobs in that market. And we do quite a lot of skills development training for artisan development. So the boiler makers, the fitters and turners, the welders. It's in the same industry. It's the same skill set. It's just in a different market now, green. The other factor that you know of Saldanha is it's a beautiful place. And we need to protect our environmental heritage, our environmental assets. And so decarbonizing all of this industry means that you have mitigated the risks of climate change and you are protecting your environment at the same time. So I always think of green hydrogen as the least regret option because it's industry, there's offtake, there's export potential, and we are actually, for want of a lack of word, we're cleaning up the environment as we do it.
So all very practical, it all makes sense. And if we think about children coming through school right now, you talk about some of the skills that you will need that perhaps are not quite readily available. In those terms, what sort of opportunities are there for children? Because we always talk about this disconnect between what our institutions of higher learning are producing as opposed to what the industry actually requires. So if we have a child or a parent watching right now who has a child in, say, grade 8, 9, and they thinking, where do I take this? Where are the gaps in terms of the sort of skills that you require at this point?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's really one of our focus areas actually. For a long time, we've been working with the local community on skills development programs, as I said. And just this year, what we've started with the Provincial Department of Education is actually a high school program. So we're targeting grade 10s across the high schools in Saldanha region. There's about 7 high schools involved because we want to make them leaders, ambassadors of their own future, the future makers. And so we've exposed them to what the IDZ means, what the Freeport means, what all of these industry and these opportunities means. And we're actually doing, I want to say, like a practical career matchmaking. So think of the jobs of tomorrow. What do you need for education today? And it's limitless because there's so much jobs of tomorrow that is still yet to be defined. But the core competencies, I want to say, of confidence, and agency and feeling empowered about making your choices. I think that is a key component of youth that we're enabling, wish to enable through our programs. So a key part for me from this summit is the mapping of that skills development pipeline of those careers. Like, let's get it practical now. Yeah.
Kashifa, so good to speak to you, and of course we'll hope to speak more. There are so many discussions that are yet going to be had here and bringing up very important points in terms of how do we move forward and how do we actually make sure that we don't just benefit, as you say, in terms of the environment, but also monetizing on what is happening here, because South Africa is in prime position to actually benefit from what we have.
Yeah, we certainly are. I think that we have the mineral endowments, we have the renewable energy endowments, we have the industrial capacity, we have strong South African companies like Sasol, like ArcelorMittal. We have institutions through our universities that have been incubating hydrogen technology know-how. So we have entrepreneurial mindset as well. And I think that we need to take hold of this opportunity. We need to be clear about what it is that we want out of it as South Africans, because we know that we have many needs in the country. But I'm sure testimony here today is that we have so many African countries as well as international delegations coming here. And they all see South Africa as a stepping board for the hydrogen economy in Africa. I think that is the right step. Yeah.
Well, Kashifa, thank you so much. And I think that's the important part. If you still don't understand, I suggest you go and familiarize yourself with this green hydrogen economy and exactly what it means and where it's going to take us. Because if you're not yet in, trust and believe you do want to get in. But from the Green Hydrogen Summit here in Cape Town, I'm going to hand it back to studio. And Naledi, Desiree, have a good one for the rest of the afternoon.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. That there, SABC News anchor Sakina Kamwendo coming to you live from Cape Town, bringing us the Green Hydrogen Summit.